like to do is to kick off the presentation with a quotation from Philip Clark at Tesco. And if you take a little bit of time and analyse it, it actually contains a tremendous amount of information and a lot of wisdom, in fact. There's a few words in here that I'd really like to draw your attention to. The first one of those is the word multi-channel. The reality of life is that we do all live in a multi-channel world. Our own social interactions, our own work interactions are all carried out through a variety of channels, through emails, through social networks, mobile phone, face-to-face. And shopping is pretty well the same sort of thing. And in fact, in the retail environment, we're talking about multi-channel marketing, multiple touch points on customers, trying to get customers to come back and to re-engage. The second most important word to us here at Vendor is the word converging. And as we go through the presentation, I'll try and illustrate why we think convergence of channels is so critical to the future of multi-channel retailing. But really the most important word in this quotation is the word there. Because during this, what Philip is saying is it's their high street, it's their computer, it's their smartphone. The reality is that multi-channel retailing isn't being driven by retailers or by technology companies like Vendor. It's being driven by your customers. Your customers are already multi-channel shoppers, and whether you have multiple channels for them to shop through or not, they're trying to work with you and trying to shop with you in that way already. So I just want to explain a little bit more about Vendor and our credentials, because obviously we're a technology company rather than a retailer, but on our platform we have in excess of 120 brands, all covering a wide spectrum of vertical markets, but also covering a wide size of retailers, from those that turn over a few millions right through to retailers that are turning over multiple billions of pounds per year. Some of them are UK based, quite a few of them are multinational as well. And within that customer base we have a huge amount of expertise, and because all of the transactions take place through the Vendor platform, we do get to see a lot of data about what is being sold, how it's being sold, the effect of promotions and the effects of multiple channels. So the information that we're giving you here today isn't just a circumspection, it's actually based on hard data and hard evidence that we get from all of our retailers. And in fact, if you look at our customer base, we've got a little snapshot of a few from the UK and from the US up here. You'll see that pretty well all of them are exploiting multi-channel retailing. So even the guys that you think are a pure play online retailer are having to engage in multiple channels in the online world. And this is the really important message to bring across to you, is that online is not just about the browser. Online is also about the mobile phone, it's about the tablet, it's also about the wireless interactivity that takes place within your stores, and it's also about social commerce as well, and how you're exploiting social networks to help you drive your commerce. So given that retailing is already starting to move towards a multi-channel model, what is changing, what's causing the change? And I've already alluded to the fact that it's customer behaviour that is driving the change in which retailing, in particular online retailing, is going to be working in the future. So the first thing to notice is that consumers are driving commerce online. Now it's easy in the e-commerce industry to talk in figures of hundreds of billions and trillions of dollars, but if we just narrow it down and look at one very small segment of the market, quite a large segment in fact, you'll see that 12% of clothing and footwear is already online. So it's $41 billion worth of, pounds worth of transactions took place in 2011. 4.8 billion of that came through online channels, through the web browser, through the mobile phone, through some kind of a social interaction. What Mintel are telling us is that that is going to grow by about 25% over the next 4 years. So regardless of what happens in the footwear and apparel marketplace, how that grows and how that changes, you're going to see an acceleration of consumers moving into the online environment. And because they're moving into online, they're also going to be moving naturally into the multi-channel environment as well. So what we've got is a situation now where there are very few retailers who do not sell online, and there's a large number, an increasing number of manufacturers who are starting to see online commerce as being a strategic imperative for them as well. So if you're feeling a little uncomfortable with the idea that your customers are pushing you in directions that you may not necessarily be ready to go, then you've got to bear in mind that the competition is also widening and increasing and becoming more aggressive in this area as well. So it's important, as I say, to take into account that the consumers are driving this. Our old linear shopping journey is becoming increasingly aware. The days when somebody would start off with looking at or responding to an advertisement in print or on television or on radio going to the store, comparing a few things in the store, or maybe if there was a high street competitor, going and have a look at that, and then coming back and purchasing. That's gone. The shopping journey is incredibly complicated. And what we're seeing is an awful lot of channel hopping is taking place as customers go from the start point to the final point of the journey. So what is happening is that somebody may start with a like on Facebook. One of their friends happens to like a particular product and they respond to that. They'll click on that, they'll go to the product page on your website and have a look at it. It could end there completely. They could then decide that they're going to go off and do a search for some product reviews about that particular product. You may not necessarily see that interaction taking place. They could be going on to comparison sites to see if there's alternative products that they should be interested in. They may stop there completely, but they may come back to your site, but this time they may be looking at it from a tablet point of view. So they're changing the form factor, they're changing the interaction. It could end up with the fact they come into the store and they purchase from you. Or it could be that on a wet Wednesday when they've had a miserable day at work and they're on the bus on the way home, they decide that yes, finally I'm actually going to buy that dress that I've been looking at, and they purchase it through the smartphone. The key thing to remember is that what you need to understand is that these customers are moving through different channels, and you need to be able to engage with them accurately, consistently, and in a more personalised way as they move between these channels and as they hop around them. So you add to that complexity the fact that each shopping journey that a shopper makes is going to be almost as unique as that shopper is. People buy different things in different ways. What looks to us to be completely chaotic and difficult to understand and interpret, for the shopper makes perfect sense. The shopper's perspective is, I'm just on a shopping trip. They're not engaging in this in the same way that you're trying to engage in it. So in order to facilitate that, what you need to do is you need to try and generate a customer journey that is completely frictionless as they move from one channel to the other channel. In other words, a completely seamless experience for the consumer as they go through the journey. So they don't want to see inconsistent offers. That confuses them. You confuse the customer, they stop buying. They don't want to find that logging in is difficult, that you're making it hard for them to enter their credentials. They don't understand why, if they've logged in on the web browser and they've logged in on your mobile application, why you can't carry the basket from here to here. They don't care that it's technically difficult to do, they just want to buy from you. And they are expecting more and more, as they become more and more aware of the potential and the possibilities, for you to be able to accommodate these changes in the journey. So as retailers, we know that the frictionless cross-channel experience is going to require technology to support it. So the question we have to make then, or the question we have to ask ourselves is it worthwhile making that investment? Now this is a question that you can only answer yourselves for your own specific business, but talking in some fairly sort of general terms, what we find is that online commerce satisfies the demand that consumers have for getting the products immediately. And the people that are engaging in multiple channels are the people that are looking to get a satisfaction within a fairly short time scale. It's not a long journey, it actually tends to be a fairly short journey as well. So we're seeing that the returns are actually very, very significant. The key thing is that your support for multiple channels is being mandated by the consumer, and they're already starting to shop in this way. So for example, ratings and reviews are used by 77% of all online shoppers as part of their decision-making process. Even more surprisingly is that 69% of people who shop frequently or mostly online will use ratings and reviews in almost every single purchase that they make. In other words, they're engaging much more with the wide variety of information that's out there. And if you look at the e-retailing group, 60% of online shoppers are talking about the importance of being able to pull together and easily access the information to help them feel more safe, more secure when they're dealing even with retailers that they've already dealt with before. So the benefit of satisfying this demand for a retailer is that the customers that you attract to your brand are a much higher spending group of customers. So you're going to increase the frequency with which you're selling, you're going to improve the recency of transactions with customers, you're going to encourage more repeat visits to them, basket sizes increase, the values that are being placed into the basket increase as well as people go across channels. Customers that are better informed spend more than they originally intended to as they go through the education process. And you'll also find that you're engaging with a group of consumers that have a greater degree of brand affinity, much higher degree of brand loyalty, and are much more likely to express it. In other words, you're attracting people who will more easily become advocates for your brand and for your products. So, having said that they're driving change, the question is, from our perspective, how and where should we be investing? I'm going to kick off with a couple of caveats before we go into this. The first thing, just to reiterate, is that customers don't care about the fact that they're using different channels. To a customer, they are quite simply shopping. You need to create the seamlessness between the channels. You need to remove the friction. And in order to remove the friction, what you've got to do is you've got to avoid building up silos of data. And that means that you've got to stop the practice of layering one channel on top of another channel, but not making an effective connection between the channel and between the information that is provided in each channel. If you can't do that, then you can't move to the area of personalisation and interactivity with the customer. And the other thing is that you need to focus very, very clearly on the brilliant basics in each channel. And when we're talking about the brilliant basics, we're talking about the real fundamentals of online selling. So the first thing is making sure that you're clearly, consistently presenting your brand values across all of the channels, but also that you're delivering on your brand promise in each of those channels as well. That consistency then goes into looking at things like the offers, the promotions, the merchandising. Consumers will no longer accept the argument that an offer is exclusive to online. They expect that offer to be available in store, they expect it available through the call centre, they expect if it comes through the post on a mail shot, they expect you to take that leaflet into a physical store and get that self-same offer. The reason that's happening is because we are starting to turn our consumers into much more of a value-conscious group of shoppers, with a level of discounting and promotions and what's happening. So people are starting now to latch onto the idea that the channel is irrelevant. There is no significant cost savings to be made by going online. They're looking for this consistency across the channel. You need also to be very, very aware of the security elements of this. Shoppers are very sensitive to online security. If they're going to put something into their web browser, they want to know it's 100% safe and secure. Their expectation of security is slightly reduced in mobile. The thought processes that they go through when they're buying through the web browser are not the same as the one they go through mobile. For some reason they seem to think that mobile phones can't be hacked. They're not exposed to bugs. So they tend to be a little bit more lax around the security. And then shockingly and really appallingly is you can take that same consumer, put them onto Facebook on a laptop or on a tablet, they'll quite happily put all of their credit card information in through a completely unsecured, unencrypted network connection. But the key thing is that it's your responsibility to make sure that you're educating, informing and protecting your customers and making sure, obviously, that you've got PCI compliance with your data processing, but also that you're locking up your consumer information in exactly the same way. And then you need to be addressing the issues of scalability. It's absolutely fantastic when we have a Facebook promotion that takes off like a rocket, but if people are then coming to your e-commerce store and they cannot get onto it because the store is crashing, and we've seen that happening where, for example, Reese, very, very happily, they got Kate's to wear one of their dresses. It was on the front page of the Daily Mail, but within 2 hours, not only had they sold out, but their website was on the floor because they couldn't scale up for it. That wasn't something they could have predicted happening. There's no blame attached to Reese for it. But if you're going to be running a promotion, you need to make sure the scalability is there across all of the channels that your customer may be hitting you with, because from the zero moment of truth, when they first find out about the product, right the way through to when they engage with you, you don't know how they're going to be coming at you in the first instance. And the other thing to think about is this question of being able to log into the mobile store. I'll talk a little bit more about Facebook and the importance of it, but for now I'm going to say that single sign-on is something that's going to become increasingly important to shoppers. They don't want to sign on multiple times, they want to be signed on across all of the channels that they're going to be engaging with. And finally, the most simple thing in the world, but still the thing that people get wrong, single view of stock levels. If somebody decides that they want to buy something online, and then change their mind and they want to go into store, you need to make sure that you point them to a store that actually has the inventory of the product that they're looking at. So you've got to join together all of your inventory information, all of your inventory data, and make sure that's propagated out across all of your channels. It's something that retailers trip over all the time. So from our perspective, where's the growth going to come from? Well, we're seeing it coming not from social. We think the primary driver of multiple channel and convergent multiple channel commerce is going to be from the mobile. And I'll explain a little bit more about what I mean by mobile, but I'd like to start thinking in terms of wireless rather than thinking in terms of the mobile phone, the smartphone. This is going to be something that's really important for you. But for now, let's just kick off with the fact that lots of retailers are starting to move from the online e-commerce browser-based store into the mobile world. And what we're saying to our clients on the vendor platform is start off with a mobile shopping experience that is based on the mobile browser. Don't go down the application route straight away. It's very, very tempting to go out there and build an application for your customers, but until you know how customers shop with you on the mobile device, then you can't build an application that will satisfy the way that they use it. And let me tell you, shoppers on mobile shop in a completely different way to the way that they will shop on a laptop or on a tablet. Mobile-driven commerce is much more task-orientated. It's much more about getting in, finding what they want, completing the transaction and going on to something else than you will find on the mobile browser. So they shop in a different way, they use the device in a different way, they're going to interact with your brand in a different way. So don't think of mCommerce as a standalone shopping channel. It's not. It's used right the way throughout the shopping journey. And one of the key things that you'll find, particularly in the area of considered purchases, where consumers like to take a little bit of time and think and compare and contrast and get some more information, is that they want to visit a store as part of that process. So a very, very simple thing you can do is to have a mobile application that allows you to identify a product and then not just find a store, but find a store near me that is carrying this product so that I can go and have a look at it. And if you can introduce that, then your conversion rate and your drive into the store, your footfall in the store, increases quite significantly as well. So make sure that you can answer those questions. Where's my nearest store? And do they have this item in stock? And the other thing to remember is that social is mobile. Most social network interactions now take place via mobile devices, and you'll see people doing it on the bus, on the train, walking around the street, sitting in coffee shops here. They're constantly on either Facebook or email or Twitter. So you have to bear in mind that integrating the social channel into the mobile experience is absolutely important. So you need to allow your customers to easily like, to tweet, to seek, to find, to follow the opinions and recommendations of their social network from within the mobile environment. And what we've also got to remember is that shoppers take the mobile channel in store with them. And we see it happening all the time. It's something 2 or 3 years ago you'd never have seen anybody standing there with a mobile phone. Now you will see people standing there quite actively and openly comparing prices, looking for product opinions, reviews, ratings and what have you. Some retailers have a fairly simple integration between the mobile channel and the store. So for example, we could kick off with an idea of a web-enabled store. Somebody walks in, I would like this in size 14 and red, but you don't have size 14. Well, let's take you to your EPOS system. Let's use that to access the e-commerce inventory, the e-commerce distribution and logistics chain, complete the order and place it as though it was an e-commerce order and have it shipped into the customer's house. So taking the inventory, the assets, the catalogue that you've got and extending that within the store. We can also see that people are starting to use kiosks in store. Kiosks are absolutely a fantastic way of extending the shelf beyond the physical confines of the store out into your virtual catalogue. So you can carry a much greater range and a wider range of products that would necessarily be commercially viable for you in some of your stores. A retailer that does that particularly well is Robert Dyer's. Particularly in the smaller Robert Dyer's stores, they use kiosks very, very well to increase the virtual range of products. So somebody will walk up and say, I need a number 8 spanner, if there is such a thing. You don't have it, can we order it? Then you can take them to the kiosk and order it through the kiosk with them to help them to guide through that navigation. We also find that as people are queuing to make a purchase, there's ability there to use their mobile devices. So for example, Starbucks where you can walk in now, you can generate a barcode on your Starbucks application and scan that, and it takes the money away from your Starbucks card. It's a good way of integrating the channel together. However, we think what we need to be doing is we need to be thinking about integrating these channels more and more closely together. So we're looking towards deepening the connection that takes place between the mobile and the store, and we're looking to go beyond pure mCommerce into store integration that will help the retailers to use customer data more, increase the use of mobile devices by the customers, to really encourage it. And we're looking at things like using geofences, so that as a registered, subscribed, opted-in customer walks past or breaches through one of your geofences, you can send a little message out to their mobile phone that says, hey, pop in today and we'll give you a 10% discount. We're also looking at taking it a little bit further, so that as people come into the store, you can say, we know you because you registered, you're opted in, you checked in last time, you were using your tablet and you left a couple of things in the basket, you didn't check out. What if we were to make you a little offer now that will encourage you to check out here and now? And then finally, you can use things like the geolocation capability to be aware if somebody is potentially moving in the area of one of your competitors. So for example, Orange might send a message if one of their customers, one of their subscribers happens to be going near an O2 store. Pop into your Orange store and get 10% off this weekend. You know, delay the purchase process. And the key thing about this is, because you've got this information, you've now got a greater level of analytics. As the customers move around the store, you can see where they went, what products they looked at, and how they interacted with the assets. So what we're going to end up with, we think, is a richer, more integrated in-store experience for the customers. It'll exploit the mobile technology that they have and that you already have, and in many cases it's going to reuse resources and assets that you've already got. So click to call an expert is reutilising your call centre but making it part of the in-store experience. Scanning a QR code on the shelf edge and popping up an instructional video is quite simply taking the video that you've got on your e-commerce site and making it available in a slightly different way. And lastly, I've talked a little bit about social being mobile and also about shopping being social as well. It always was a social experience. It's only when we started to invent e-commerce and make life a little bit harder for ourselves that shopping started to become more of a solitary environment. By taking the social and putting social back into e-commerce, what you find is you're actually increasing significantly the amount of revenue that you're producing. Facebook, we're finding, is the second largest source of referral for all of the clients on the vendor platform. It's not the second largest, the second fastest growing. The largest is Google, but Facebook is catching up very, very rapidly. It's driving a huge amount of traffic to customer sites. And what we're also finding is that if you compare search traffic to Facebook-driven traffic converts at a much, much, much higher rate than your search-driven traffic does. So it makes then sense for you as retailers to be looking at ways that you can exploit the ability of your customers to like a product, to recommend a product, to say that they've just purchased it, to express an opinion to it, to engage with it with the customers. And in fact, some research was carried out last year that showed that when they're visiting an e-commerce site, 60% of college-age shoppers are already logged into Facebook, and 40% of middle-aged shoppers are already logged into Facebook. So the sensible thing is, if these people are coming to your e-commerce site, why not let them log in and register and shop and check out just by using their Facebook credentials? Just simplifies the whole thing. Log in with Facebook, you're already logged in, that's it, job done. You've taken some friction away from the customers. So to summarise, shoppers are multi-channel already. They're expecting the seamlessness, they're demanding the frictionless. And to achieve that, you need to go beyond this concept of layering channels on top of channels and looking at ways to converge them, to integrate them, to produce a true multi-channel experience for shoppers. We think the rewards are there, and obviously, vendor, we'd love to help you do it on our platform.